Hello, Bloomington. I'm Mayor Tim Busse, and this is the Council Minute for the week of December 4th. On Monday night, the Council held the annual Truth in Taxation public hearing and ultimately passed the City of Bloomington 2024 tax levy and budget. I have said many times in recent months that Bloomington will invest our resources in ways that reflect the values and the priorities of this community, and that we will excel at the nuts and bolts work of municipal government. This budget does just that. On Monday night, the Council passed a 2024 levy increase of 7.97%. That's a reduction of about 1.5% from the preliminary levy that was passed earlier this fall. The proposed increase set in September was 9.49%. The general fund budget that was approved totals just over $100 million. Now, a 7.97% levy increase doesn't equate to a 7.97% tax increase. The change for the City of Bloomington tax bill for a median valued home would be 6.76%. In a previous council minute, I stated that the actual increase in the tax bill for a median valued home would be lower than that. And I want to clarify here for everyone, the number I used previously was incorrect. That incorrect number was based on changes to the Minnesota tax code, but those tax code changes don't go into effect until 2025. My apologies for using incorrect information. The budget passed on Monday night continues Bloomington's investments in public safety. It's structured to maintain the city services that residents value and expect. It's focused on the strategic allocation of resources, and the budget aligns with the city's strategic plan. As a quick review, there are three main issues that are driving city expenses next year. The first is labor market pressure. Basically, the cost of employing the people who provide the services that you've come to expect from the City of Bloomington. The second is Bloomington's continued commitment to public safety. Public safety has always been and will continue to be a top priority in Bloomington. We've been very upfront with the fact that adding to our public safety capacity, specifically the move to a hybrid full-time and on-call fire department, has a cost associated with it. And the final cost driver is very simply economic volatility, or inflation. Staff provided a number of stark examples of cost increases that are directly affecting the cost of providing city services. For example, the cost of providing uniforms and basic equipment for our police officers has risen 32% since 2022. Every city is different, but a broader context is sometimes helpful. This chart shows Bloomington's final levy increase compared to the preliminary levies proposed by some of our neighbors. We don't have their final numbers yet, but as you can see, Bloomington is not an outlier in any way. I suspect many of those cities are facing the same budget pressures that Bloomington is. For even broader context, the Minnesota Department of Revenue recently released the preliminary 2024 tax levy for the entire state. Combined, cities in Minnesota proposed increases of 8.4%. I've said before, the careful and sensible stewardship of public money is the most important responsibility we have as elected officials, and council members echoed that sentiment on Monday night. We all take that responsibility very seriously, and this budget reflects that. Also on Monday night, I was proud to read a proclamation recognizing December 4th through the 10th as Computer Science Education Week. Without question, the field of computer science is foundational for so much of our modern culture. And strong computer science education plays a crucial role in sparking creativity and innovation in young people and creating economic opportunities as they get older. You may not be aware, but Bloomington Public Schools are a leader in Minnesota in K-12 computer science education. And when I say a leader, I mean one of the best in the state. Here are some highlights. Bloomington was the first district in the state to have a computer science immersion program at the elementary level. So even kindergartners can be in a computer science immersion program. This program has been in place since 2019, so there are fourth graders who have been immersed in computer science learning as long as they've been in school. There are immersion programs at 2 elementary schools, cohort programs in the middle schools, and there are many opportunities including AP classes at the high school level. Bloomington Schools Computer Science Coordinator, Dr. Alexandra Holter, is nationally recognized. She was in Washington, D.C. recently to participate in an event sponsored by the White House, the National Economic Council, and the National Science Foundation to discuss equitable approaches to education in artificial intelligence and computer science. And finally, Bloomington is teaching students literally all over the state. More than 50% of students in the state of Minnesota don't have access to AP computer courses that they can apply toward their graduation. That is, unless they take one of the Bloomington Public Schools online AP computer science courses that are part of Bloomington's New Code Academy. Bloomington schools are focused on removing barriers and increasing access to computer science education for all students, especially those typically underrepresented in computer science fields. They teach important critical thinking skills while at the same time promoting joy and creative expression through computer science. I was proud to present the proclamation on Monday night to a very excited group of administrators, teachers, and students. And I was also honored to be part of a group that met with Minnesota Commissioner of Education Willie Jett at Indian Mounds Elementary School. Commissioner Jett had high praise for the work being done here in Bloomington. Congratulations to Superintendent Eric Melby and everyone in Bloomington schools for your impressive work on computer science education. And speaking of impressive work, I'm never shy about saying that Bloomington City staff is second to none. On Monday night, we had two opportunities to recognize the outstanding work being done by our city staff. Last month, Bloomington Sustainability Coordinator Emma Struss was recognized as the Public Works Employee of the Year by the Minnesota chapter of the American Public Works Association. In particular, Emma was recognized for her work on the development of Bloomington's Time of Sale Energy Disclosure Program. Now, Bloomington employees do remarkable work every day, but how cool is it that Emma is recognized by her peers statewide as the top Public Works employee in Minnesota for 2023. And we learned last week that the Center for Economic Inclusion released their first ever Racial Equity Dividends Index for the public sector. It's a tool to help governments evaluate current progress in implementing racial equity standards across their organization. Of the 22 participating agencies, Bloomington finished first among our peer group and finished in the 95th percentile of all organizations that participated in terms of the indexed measures that were used. Hats off to Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer Faith Jackson and all the folks who work in and with our Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. There is tremendous value in building diverse, equitable, and inclusive communities. And I am so proud of the work Faith and the entire city has done to develop new strategies for racial equity and shared economic prosperity. That will do it for this week's Council Minute. Thank you much for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe, Bloomington.